Yo, what's up? Good morning. So this is going to be the last stream in a while. I won't be able to stream as consistently during the summer, but will try to stream whenever I can, and will notify on my Discord when that happens. So for this last spring stream, I was thinking about doing something fun, like going through the action system and cleaning it up, making it a little bit more streamlined, and yeah, just see what improvements we can find, because we want to prep it to be able to extend it a bit. And it's just not a question of implementing simple actions like place or stuff like that. This action system is actually, so every animate entity in this world, and there will be many eventually, this action system is pretty much the core in their logic. So yeah, right now it's the playable entity, the character, that can do all of these stuff. But all of these actions and interactions will also be utilized by the creatures. So for example, terraforming, it's used by the player to terraform the garden, make it nice, looking good. But terraform might also be used for a creature that can poke around in the dirt and alter it pretty much. And then you have like consume, collect, pick up. So yeah, this action system is going to be like core to the game. So it's going to be iterated multiple times. But I think that's what we're going to do. Good morning, Harukanan. So I'm going to start by cleaning it up. If we take a look at action, which is the base class, we have a lot of overrides and stuff like that. Try start processing, try stop processing, start processing, stop processing, action interaction. So things like this. I think I want to go a little bit away from this, because this makes it can make it a little bit harder to read. So that's one thing we're going to improve upon. How these different actions talk to each other might also be one thing we're going to improve upon. And then we have the returning question of this coroutine here. I know that I've been going a little bit back and forth if this is the best way to do it, and honestly I don't know just yet. We can take the example of terraform. Right now we have this as a coroutine. Okay, that might not be the best example, but place, for instance, we have a place routine here, and in the do while we update whatever we're placing. This looks nice and stuff like that, but we could solve it by just updating this here or here and remove the routine altogether. But something we need to keep in mind is that when we do a routine, when we do one of these actions, it's going to affect a lot of different components. And one major one is animation. So terraforming, when we start terraforming here, we're going to play an animation. We don't want to be done with the terraforming. We don't want to allow for other stuff. Before we're done. So we would probably want eventually, right now, this state machine, it only consists of its separate parts, and then we have the actual entity keeps track of it. Do we actually have it here? We have interactables here. Animate entity. Here we have actions like this. I'm wondering if it might be a good idea to have a action controller as well. Because think about it. So right now, place disables focus and it talks to focus directly. I wonder if we want to go through action controller. Actually, so we can have like as soon as we start place, we send a message to action controller that we should lock certain actions or every other action and stuff like that. Same with action jump, we'll probably cancel all other actions. It's starting to be quite a complicated system, but I anticipated that. We'll see where we end up. One sec, we're gonna do this. I'm just gonna create a new issue for this. Real quick. Let's see if we have it. Yeah, here we go. It's gonna be a little bit experimental from the get-go. It's gonna be cleanup, enhancement, implementation. Don't we have an optimization? Okay. Let's leave it like this. Let's let it be a little bit dynamic. Yo, what's up, Derek? Sorry I'm late. No problem at all. Appreciate it. So dependencies are nice. Yeah, I think introducing a action controller here would be fucking beautiful. Way less references. We're gonna have dependencies. Like, I want to do a big commit before we start, because it's working pretty damn good right now. I like it. It's in a good state. So I'm just gonna commit this real quick. And then we can start cleaning it up. So I'm pretty sure I want to commit everything in action. Okay, there we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to introduce a action controller. and an interactable controller, I think. So we're going to clean it up a little bit concerning entity. Dictionary, this one we're going to hide inside of the interactable controller. Do I want to call it controller or handler? Interactable handler and action handler. So instead of talking directly to each other, they talk through, or the action handler handles it. Fuck, is that a good idea? Yo, what's up, Cooler SK? It would pretty much work as the animator, pretty much. And then we have the idea of introducing, finishing, and interrupted here as well. This one can be cleaned up a bit. Action reference, we will have way less action references here. But how would the communication actually happen? So action tries at ready state when we do dependencies where here? It's pretty nice as is. Yeah, the good thing is that the only one listening in on state change would be so I'm thinking that the action controller listens on state change. We send in whatever it was that changed the state. And then we don't want to notify all the actions, only the ones that are related to this one, to the state here. Wonder if we would like to have a flag here that is fulfilled or not. Like we have, but this is pretty much a method where we check it. So if a state gets changed, the controller gets notified. The controller then checks which of the actions we have is dependent on this one. So I wonder if we would have to build up some sort of dictionary from dependencies. Then we check if all are fulfilled. If it is, we change the state of that one. But then we're gonna, if we change the state of that one, we're gonna have to check all that are dependent on that one. It's basically what we're doing now, but we're doing it a little bit more streamlined. Like, is it a good idea? Maybe. Does this mess it up if we have... Now, it feels like we would probably... the focus is to get it a bit more streamlined, okay? But before we continue, I just need to run AFK real quick, so be right back. Okay, back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the messaging between actions I would like to streamline here. Make it work through action controller. Provider. basically have something similar in place currently. Where do we have animate entity? We can probably, yeah, we can start with a middle ground, because right now we do add dependency reference first to default dependencies. Set up dependencies. Get components actions. Yeah, this is a little bit, yeah, we can introduce an action controller and just clean this up a bit. I reckon. Yeah, I don't like this. Yep, I think we're gonna do it like this. Action, 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 action. Or handler. Or just be explicit and just call it action state machine. Then we do eventually we're probably gonna add this in something like this, but not right now. We probably want to do something like this. Private. Do I need this to be a mono behavior? Probably not. Then it's a question of do we need the actions to be mono behavior? We do want coroutines, but we can solve that with something else. I want to use I want to use a combination of explicitly defining actions on entities by adding scripts to them, I think. But also force specific entities to have specific actions. Maybe not actions as much as interactables, though. And while we're doing this, I also want to get away from... How would that work? I want to get away from this here. We want to implement some type of generic... I think we can do it. We're gonna have to throw this somewhere, but... Get interactable. I wonder if we can do this here. Maybe. Actions, actions, actions. Good morning, Cynic. We started a pretty big task of improving the action system, making it a bit more streamlined, a little bit cleaner. That's pretty much it. Maybe not the best task to start just before a development break, but we'll see. I think we're gonna do this. Is the latency way down, or did you just answer my morning and question in milliseconds? I might have. Not really. Yeah, I think we want to do something like this. Action. Action array. This is not something... Nah, we're gonna have it on this one. First thing we do here is we get all actions. We will remove this from Thank you for the sub as well, Cynic. Appreciate it, appreciate it. So currently, yeah, we're going to start easy. We're just going to move a lot of, or some of the functionality from entity to action state machine. It's actually not entity, it's, so entity won't have any actions. Dynamic entity won't have any actions. But animate entity and playable entity will have. So actually just animate entity. So we're just going to take some of these action stuff, the logic, action logic, and put it in action state machine initially. Can perform action. Yeah, we're going to move these as well. Get action as well. Yeah, let's do this slowly. And then we're going to have private void start here. This is where we're going to set up the dependencies. Because I think we're going to have... In fact, do I want to build this dependency tree as a dictionary of a dictionary? Is that weird? I want to make, so when we get a state change for some action, I want to make it quick to notify exactly which I want to make it quick to notify the states that listens to this. So I wonder if you want to do a dictionary where you create the links pretty much. Fuck, maybe I should create some figure here. But so when you get the dependencies on the actions, you define the dependencies as... We're not going to change this one too much. It's going to be nice to not have the action reference here and stuff like that. We're not going to have fulfilled here. But we define it as a struct as well. That's going to be way nicer. So we have action type. And then we have dependency state. And this one... Action dependency type, non-in state, not state, not in state. Want to avoid the switch case as well. We can probably do a... Let's see what we have. Or do we want to define our own links? Maybe we do. Yeah, yep. We want to define, yeah, when we put up the links between the states, we probably actually want, let's see here, these paired. I wonder. That's not entirely true. Like, yeah, we definitely want to notify. Let's say that this one, we depend on focus and it needs to be processing. But if this dependency processing goes from, or if focus goes from processing to ready, then we want to notify this one and flip it to false, right? It's not fulfilled anymore. Do I want to have a private dictionary where we have action? Would it be weird to do? Maybe, or connections. Doing ChatGPT kinda impressive. Yes, indeed, I agree. Found an image for a living room and liked a piece of furniture in it. Sent the image to GPT and asked it to identify it. Responded with name and link to IKEA. Yeah, it's fucking insane these days. I've been hella impressed by VO3 video generation these past couple of days. Now it's starting, now generative models are getting insanely good. Still waiting for a retopology model, or maybe a rigging, generative rig model, or generative retopology model. That would be insane. So when this changes its state, we go through all of these and check dependencies. I don't know. It's pretty much a broadcaster. I wonder. I wonder why we have this reference here, if I'm going to be honest. Couldn't we just do... Tendencies. Mm. Yeah, we don't need to set the reference here, but still, if we add it to, we listen on state change, we still have to pair it with a dependency to get the logic, or what type of dependency it is. Hmm. Cynic, is this last stream today for a while? Yeah, I won't be able to stream for a couple of weeks, and I won't be able to be as consistent this summer. Unfortunately not. We'll notify in Discord when I go live during the summer, though. We'll try to do... It's going to be way less streams this summer, but we're going to go for more hours each stream, I think. So there's also lots of work. Yes, indeed. Some other type of work, at least. And vacation, of course. Gotta enjoy the summer as well. And a baby on the way. Hopefully long days at the beach, pondering this action system here, this action state machine. How we can improve it, streamline it. Cynic baby on the way, congrats. Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, I think we're gonna do some writing here. We will have, or we will introduce a action state machine. we will have an action, or we already have. Action state. In fact, I really like this current implementation of this action system. It's just that it's starting to become a bit it's going in every direction pretty much. I want to streamline it. It should never be if something goes wrong or if we get some unexpected behavior, I don't want to try and follow a thread going in all directions. I want to be able to pinpoint it easily. That's why I want to streamline it. Action type, and then we have action dependency. But we're going to call it like this. And then I wonder, action state. Here we have unavailable. In fact, do I want to write these yeah, let's do it. We have unavailable, available, ready, and processing. But we might be able to use mermaid here today. And then I wonder if I want to introduce finishing and interrupting. Unavailable, an action is, yeah, it's unavailable. We're not going to check anything. Or, yeah, it's totally unavailable. It might be locked or something. I don't know. Available, it's available to get ready. Ready, we can perform it. We're just waiting on the trigger pull, so to speak. Processing, we're currently doing this action, or the entity is currently doing it. And then we have finishing and interrupting. Interrupted. So pretty much we can only go from processing to finishing, interrupting. Like, are we gonna do some mermaid stuff here? Maybe. Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Oh, it's so fucking easy. wonder if we can do... Oops. What do we have? 3. I just want to try... Can we have it like this? Anything to make this make sense in my head. Oh, did I forget? Okay, we want semicolons like this. Actually, we're gonna do this. Let's edit this one here instead. I just want to try and figure out how I want to define these dependencies or these links between actions, because it's going to be... I want to make them a tiny bit more complicated than they currently are. When to push for interruption and stuff like that. Yeah, let's edit it here instead. And what do we have? Something like this, but we get an error. Do we want to do it like that? We need to do tabs. What am I missing? Oh, okay. Beautiful. And then I wonder if we can do unavailable. What actual use do we have for this one? Okay, it's pretty much going to be this. Unavailable. Can we do it like that? Unavailable. Beautiful. Can we structure this with spaces like this? Beautiful. Unavailable can only go to available. Fuck, this is so nice. And then we have available ready. But we also want to have Processing should only be able to go to finishing. Quincy, what's up, what's up? It's going pretty good. We're more of in a planning stage today. Finishing, interrupting. And finishing can go to like unavailable feels like a little bit of I'm trying to figure out in what case I would like to use unavailable. If something locks all of the I don't know, let's say that the character passes out, then all actions will be unavailable. So then we don't care about checking dependencies. But yeah, unavailable is pretty much for setting. We want to hard lock an action. So that's always going to come from the outside. I would say finishing interrupting goes back to available. Oh yeah, we want to add. Fucking hell. Wonder if we can decide the default size of this one as well. And here's the thing. Let's take unavailable again. Unavailable, any state should go to unavailable. Or I wonder if that's true. If it's ready, we should set it to unavailable, but in processing, we should always interrupt it first. Unavailable to available. Then we check here. Because if we take this state machine and we look at it from the perspective of a creature, for instance, this state machine or this action state machine is going to be controlled from the entity's needs, pretty much. If it starts to get hungry, it's gonna check for, it wants to consume something, right? So it's gonna check the consume state. If it's available, it wants to get it to ready first. So that means that, and to get it to ready, we're gonna have to analyze the dependency. And to get action consume to a ready state, it's going to depend on action focus. It needs to focus food. It needs to find food. So we're going to have action search. Focus is going to depend on, not really. Search can feed focus. Fuck, this is gonna get complicated real fast, I think. That's why we really need to get it streamlined. I don't doubt that we could make it work with the current implementation. It's just that I want to get it more streamlined, you know? But it's very important that unavailable... This one, unavailable, is going to be... We can get to unavailable from any state except for processing. But that's... So, like, if we get notified... If an action gets notified that it needs to be set to unavailable and it's currently processing, then it needs to jump to interrupting first. I don't know if... No, actually, we're gonna do it like this. Available. Yo, what's up, Spires? Thank you for the raid, appreciate it. You too. And welcome to all the new viewers. We're just trying to plan out a streamlined action system. Or improving the current one. Yo, what's up, GDs? Nah, I think we're gonna get... So this messaging here, we're gonna do it like this. Available. We will only be able to get from this one from available. So if we're in ready and we get notified that this action is no longer available, we pretty much jump back and then to this one. Same here, processing, we get a notification that we need to set it to unavailable. We jump to interrupting, to available, and then unavailable. Although I wonder... Mac GDs, what's the context here? Crafting. Fuck, would love if I had the description done here. But the action system is pretty big. It's like every animate entity in the world. So think creatures, NPCs. Creatures are NPCs, but creatures, other humanoids, as well as the playable character. They are all animate entities that has an action system that controls them. So everything they can do, it's consume, pick up, focus, run, swim, climb, whatever. And all of this is going to be a state machine, or is a state machine, that controls what they can do and when they can do it and what they do. What they do, what they can do, when they do it, and so on and so on. So currently we have a it's okay action system in place. I'm just trying to streamline it for future use. So here you can pretty much see everything we have. Action, jump, collect, consume, equip, focus, inspect, pick up, place, terraform, etc, etc. And all of these are going to depend and affect each other, right? So pickup currently needs... We can actually check it in action. So the playable entity, this is also a little bit of an outlier because this one is controlled by the player, right? But he has a lot of actions. One of the more important ones is action, interaction, focus. So we can see here that it's in state processing currently, because now we're focusing the environment. You see it here in interactable entity. And then we can see this entity also has inspect, for instance, and inspect depends on focus. Focus needs to be in state processing. Like the entity needs to focus something for inspect to be ready. Later on, we're gonna have a behavior script for the creatures to handle when to try and execute an action, stuff like that. But for this playable entity, the player is that behavior script. So if we focus anything, inspect gets set to ready, and that's when we get this possible action inspect, which is show info here. So now inspect is processing, now it's available again. It's not updating accordingly, but you see the point. And right now, this state machine we create here, it's a web of stuffs with links going in every direction, stuff like that. I'm just trying to streamline it a bit. Yo, what's up, Gerald? And this dependency, it goes deeper and deeper pretty much. If we pick something up, we have a action that is place something. Place depends on that we pick something up, but then when we start placing, we get even more actions depending on stuff. Smack GDs, I actually remember you starting with this about a year ago. Yeah, we implemented the foundation of it, but now which is pretty nice and has worked pretty good. But now we have come to a point where we want to extend it even further, pretty much. And we could probably extend it in its current the way we have currently implemented it, but it's going to start becoming, it's going to get dirtier and dirtier. So yeah, it's time for a improvement slash refine slash streamline iteration of it. Especially because I'm planning on starting with creatures after the summer. So we're gonna need to have this action system in place by then. And we have identified, or I have identified, a couple of weak points for it, and that's what I want to improve upon. First of all, we have the dependencies and states. I think we need 2 more states here. We need to be able to properly handle interruptions here. I wonder if we want to implement an action state message. Yeah, what's up, Lechman? So when a state changes, it broadcasts to all of the states listening to it, and it broadcasts itself. I don't know if we need an actual reference to the action or not, but at least the type. And then we broadcast what state we went from, what state we're changing to, and maybe that's about it. Smack GDs, are you namespacing your actions? Not right now. I have that as a to-do list. We're gonna do that soon. I don't know if I want to lose the action name or the action prefix in the class though. Maybe. Maybe. Mopopoom, what's up? Keep it up, man. Thank you, appreciate it. Will do. Them shaders been looking spicy for a while. Yeah. Hopefully we'll see some in-depth videos about them as well this summer. We'll see what we can be able to produce. I guess it would be pretty nice to lose the prefix. You're definitely right about that, GDs. GDs, yeah, I'm gonna think about it. I have... we have... Don't I have this? I have an issue at least concerning the namespaces, and it might be a good idea. It would look very good to have actions.interaction. It's pretty huge. Yeah, it's gonna be nice to do some planning and restructuring this summer, I think. But yeah, okay, so if we have this tree, I think this is a pretty good state. Action dependencies is gonna do a lot of heavy lifting here. I wonder... I want to be able to, eventually, I want to be able to, in action interaction, for instance, I want to be able to define, let's just do, I think I want to be able to do something like, blah, 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 blah. I think I want to be able to define it like this. I wonder if actually dependency 1, dependency 2. I don't want to, I want to get away from having to define them manually like this. Making these into non-mono behaviors would probably be the way to go eventually as well. Oops. With finished state machines, plain data is not enough. You need to express transitions from one state to another through code. Yeah, 100%, 100%. In some way, yeah. If we take a look at dependencies, will there exist a case where Yeah, it will. Like one action could have multiple dependencies. Yeah, focus, collect, but this is more of an interruption. Yeah, I might look up a couple of videos as soon as we have, like, what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to define how I want this state machine to work, like how I want this system to work. Try to define the rules for which this system will be built upon. Or streamlined into, actually. What does it mean to have dependencies? Each dependency needs to be present and valid. Yes. So my example previously with pickup, for instance, action pickup depends on action focus. Like, we need to focus on an object before we can pick it up, right? There need to exist something that we can pick up. Place, pickup might be the wrong word for this action. It's more like carry or something like that. But then you have place, for instance. You won't be able to place an object that you're not carrying. But then it depends. If we have our playable entity, it might be enough to just focus it. But you can take action drop, or which is, that's a bad example, but consume, for instance. Consume could depend on both carry and focus, I suppose. I wonder if I want to, if we take a look at these arrows right now in this system, going from unavailable to available or available to unavailable, this one is controlled. I wonder. SmackGDs, I would try the other way around. You try to perform action pick, and if you're in focus, you transition into pick state. If not, nothing happens. Or something else happens. Yeah, like, yeah. First of all, so this system will be used by playable entities, but also animate entities. And we want to be able to always show what actions are available to the player. And if we go that route, I don't know how you would implement it in that way. Like, then you would always show every action. Like, if we take a look at, like, we need to keep in mind both playable entity and just an animate entity. We want to be able to show to the player, we want to be able to give visual feedback what available actions we have in the underlying action system, right? So we pretty much want these dependencies to go both ways. We could take what you're saying and apply it to a creature. I had the example previously that the creature is going to be controlled, or it's going to be driven by its needs. So if a creature is hungry, then we could definitely check, like, then it tries to perform action consume, but it's not available. So then we go to that dependencies. It needs to focus food first. And like in that scenario, it might work. But in this scenario, when we want to get visual feedback to the player, doing it purely like that won't work. So we want dependencies that go both ways, if that makes sense. Or we want to be able to traverse dependencies both ways. So we want a state change for one action to affect the action that it's dependent on, to change its state. But we also want to go from one state and search, like, to be able to do this one, which states needs to be fulfilled. Does that make any sense? Go up, go up, go up. Yeah, definitely. But to implement the go up, we need a nice action state machine behind the scenes, right? Yeah, so this one, yeah, we need to be careful when we define this one. Like when we define an action, so action dependencies are pretty much gonna be, so these are not the states, right? Or these are not the different states in the action state machine, but these are different states that the actions can be in. So a state machine inside of a state machine, if you will. But like, we can do description. Let me do this real quick. Can we use, we should be, do we need to have, oh yeah. The dependencies are pretty much, am I thinking about this correctly? The links between actions, I would say. Dependency, transition. Yes, so you can't really look at them as the arrows, because the fact is that multiple actions will be able to be processing simultaneously, right? Focus, once again, a good example. We can focus something at the same time as we're having something picked up. So how can we think about the dependencies? And that's why I want to do, that's why I think I get back to the word transitions or dependencies at all times, but we want to define it as a messaging system, I think. So we have a system of actions or nodes. We have a big node. We have a big group of nodes, and that are the different actions, and then we want to send messages between them, right? Each such node is going to have its internal state, what it is currently doing, and as soon as this state changes, that node wants to broadcast its new state or its state change to the group of nodes. but we have set it up in such a way previously that only the relevant nodes gets the message. Does that make sense? So it's not a state machine in the terminology that we can actually allow for multiple states. Processing individually. Fuck, is that a good way to look at it? As a group of nodes which uses a messaging system between them. Fucking thinking in my head, so if is this a stupid way to think about it, but let's take the pickup or carry or whatever we're gonna call it. Let's say that this gets a message to pick something up, right? So then we change from ready to processing. So then we have something let's say consume, for instance. Or actually, no, okay, let's start from the beginning. Focus gets set from some outer something else controls it. So the entry point to this node can come from outside. So anyway, we send a message to this node specifically to focus this object. If this one is ready, i.e. it can focus. So focus is in ready. Nothing locks it or whatever. So then focus go from ready to processing. So it does a state change. So then it notifies or it broadcasts that its state has changed. We broadcast it by this pretty much, state change event. But currently here we send out an action. I wonder if we want to repackage this as a action state message or something like that, where we send what action it concerns. Maybe we can go with just action type. We'll see. Yeah, maybe action type is enough. So we send out action type, what state it was in previously, and what state it is in now. And during the instantiation, we have set up which other actions listens to this one. So all of those will be notified. In this case, collect, inspect, and pick up, maybe. All of those three gets notified. They check their... all of them gets notified. They change this... they changed that specific dependency, so we need to do that mapping in some way to be equal to true. So if this one has a dependency that focus needs to be processing, that one gets set to true. After it has changed that state, it checks, are now all of my dependencies fulfilled? If they are, we change this one from available to ready. And this one is now, yeah, we can now execute this one. And then if we pick, so then if the player input or the creature behavior script triggers pickup, then we change this one to from ready to processing. It messages all of each, or it broadcasts the message that it is now changing from ready to processing. I wonder if that's how we want to do it. The biggest downside or the biggest hurdle I can identify with this system is when we do the mapping. So we get a message that something has changed, and then we have dependency. We're going to have a dictionary here with the dependencies if we want to be able to grab them quickly, pretty much. Action state machine. It's not really a state machine, it's more going to be an action handler then, I suppose. I think we also want to be able to define these as flags, so to speak, so we can use multiple. But I wonder, are these two... I wonder if we can do without these. So if we take a look at, if we think about when we try to place something, then pickup is processing, place is processing. So if we place it, then processing goes from finishing. Yeah, we probably want to be able to... Pickup needs to know if place... If it finishes, it's going to behave in a certain way. If it gets interrupted, it's going to behave in a certain way. I'm just a little bit scared that we might be broadcasting a bit too much. So processing is going to broadcast that we go from processing to interrupting. This change will be broadcasted, and so on and so on. It might be a little bit too much. But maybe. Or could we convey this information without processing? I'm thinking about the actions place. So we're holding something and we're placing it. If place, if we place the object and we want to interrupt, holding it. I guess we can see how heavy this becomes by broadcasting a lot. I think we have ways to minimizing the broadcasting. Eventually we can split it up into available is pretty much never gonna broadcast anything. Honestly, currently I don't see any downsides with the broadcasting thing. It's going to be a little bit messy with how we define the dependencies, but that's okay. Yo, what's up, 40? Good luck. Thank you. Appreciate it. Probably gonna need it. So we don't want to represent this like this. Okay. Right, actually, I can see one downside with having the broadcasting node and broadcasting approach, and that is the number of broadcasts we're doing. There's gonna be a lot of messages. Each arrow here is gonna be a message, but only to the ones listening, so it might not be too bad. I think that's the way to go. So action. Probably want to rename this one action. And where do we have it there? Yeah, we need to do 3. We do, it's C sharp, right? So my question here then is, do we want to have or what's the purpose of having an action reference here? I don't think we need it. And I don't think we need... I wonder if we could do something like this. Action state change message. Would it be extremely messy to define it like this? So if we have, let's see here. Action dependencies. If we would go for a dependency, actually we do this in so if we take an action here, we're going to call it dependency right now. We need to define, yeah, we have an action dependency. So we need that one as well. So we have action dependency and action state change message. Action state change message. I'm wondering if this one just needs to stand action state previous action state new and we define this one as Jesus. There we go. Action type. Um, mm, 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 mm. We have these as masks. And then I wonder, when we set up the action dependencies, if we can do dependency action on state change. And here we do action state change message m be fulfilled is equal to previous new previous would this be weird? We could do or update dependency the or this be a fucked up way to do it. Or totally acceptable. Or it would be more like on state change. It's just that, so my actions, I don't want them to have, they're going to have a list of dependencies that we define in code, but then when we set up the node messaging system, so when we get a new message, I don't want to fetch the specific dependency. Is this weird? So it would be for each action in actions dot values, action dot dependence for each action dependency in action dot dependencies. And then we have very similar to what we already have, but we have it in entity. I don't know about that. Public action, get action. If action can perform action, or if not can perform action, action dependency, get type. We're gonna make that a little bit, like, is that the wrong one? Yeah, that's the wrong one. Action dependency dot action type. So if it can't perform this one, continue, because then we can't set up the dependency. But if it can, we do source, or actually then we get this one, and then we do action dependency source dot on state change event. Get an action here. So for now we can do this action a we're going to change whatever we send down here. It's going to be a message instead. Yeah, so this is highly temporary. or not temporary, but not fully implemented yet. But then it would be something like and here we do action dot update dependency and action try set ready state. But this one we want to, I don't know about this one. Yeah, that's not what we do with this one. Or what this line defines is that we can only go from a action state change message can only bring something into ready state. I want to change that, I think. So my question is, if this dependency, maybe it shouldn't be called dependency, but this one will try to bring the state in question into another state as well. So for instance, in the example where we have carry processing and place processing, place goes from processing to finishing. That will bring carry from processing to interrupting. So if we can send that as well, so the dependency also have, so here we have if the message has the same previous, if the message has the same previous and new, this one brings the action from this state to this state. So we will send out action place will send out a change from processing to finishing, and then we have a dependency or a effect or whatever we want to call it that checks if place goes from processing to finishing, then this state should go from processing to interrupting. If all of those are true, we do it. Action state change message. But then we have the ready as well. We might have Yo, what's up, PG King? Good morning, good morning. Dropping in right at the end, unfortunately, but I appreciate it. Oh, I think, yeah, we're on to something here. Yeah, unfortunately, I won't. The last week of streaming will just be short 3-hour streams due to some time constraints. The only thing I worry about this is if we want to go from available to ready. That some more dependencies might need to be fulfilled for this one. How is the project going? We are... Oh, this is actually the first stream on... So this action state machine slash system we have in place, it has worked pretty good, but it's quite... It's a little bit all over the place. So we're in the process of streamlining it and just making it nicer in every way. And this is like the first stream of this. This is probably... When I stream this summer, this will probably be what we will be working with, like finalizing this system. The foundation we have is good, but we need to finalize it this time around. And when I say action system, that are all our actions that entities can do. So focus, consume, pick up, place, you name it. Move, run, yeah, it's going to be all of those. Yeah, every interaction, hotkey and stuff, it's this action system is going to be both for the playable entity and the animate entity, so the creatures pretty much. I think this system we have arrived at is pretty robust. It's just this... It's just as if we have multiple dependencies. We're gonna have to make sure that all of those are fulfilled. And that's gonna be the biggest hurdle, I think. Yeah, unfortunately I'm gonna have to run now, but I think I have a lot to think about. Hopefully, yeah, I think we're on to something here. So I won't be able to stream as consistently this summer. Will notify my Discord when we continue with this action node system. I think this is a good starting point, definitely. So, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Appreciate it. It's going to be extremely extensive, PG King. Definitely. That's like we really need to make it robust and streamlined. Yeah, we'll see how it goes this summer. We'll notify in Discord when I go live next time. Apart from that, have a great summer, everybody. Peace.